What's that?
Oh,
Hawk?
possum.
Oh, yeah, I see him. There's your possum, Joe.
What's that?
There's your possum.
Oh, sweet. Okay, you ready? Here, Chuck. Here, Chuck. Let me get this for my summer video. Get the dogs back. No, hey, get back. Get your dog.
Dude, I'm not gonna. Come here.
Just call him.
Come here. Come here. Let's go.
I'll walk out so they're not distracted. Come here, Chuck. Okay. See if I can get overhead here. Okay. So this is the possum. Let's see if I can not get the grass out of the way without getting my finger bit. Let me turn my light off here. Hey guys, so this is a possum. This is the only marsupial in all of North America. And I've been wanting to catch one of these guys for you guys for a while and talk about the unique and interesting things about a possum. First thing, let's take a look, see what gender we've got. And we have a boy. We have a boy. So let's take a look at their boy parts. If we had a girl, we had other interesting things to look at. Take a look at his penis. Look how he's got basically two penises. Here, see, look at that. One onto the left, one to the right. Why in the world would you have two penises? Well, female opossums, conveniently, have a forked or double vagina, depending on how you want to look at it. And the males, when they breed a female, they're actually breeding her twice. So one's going on one side, one's going on the other, and she's getting pregnant on both sides. They can have around 21 babies, but in the mother's pouch, there are only 13 nipples. So if they have more than 13, like the 21 example, the rest die. They fall off. And what's interesting is they have to crawl from, if we had a female, I'd show you kind of how it works, but obviously wrong gender here to show that. When they give birth, they're teeny tiny, helpless little babies. Just absolutely preemies for any other species of mammal. And they climb up the belly into the pouch in their little preemie state, and they latch onto a teat and they just hang on. And so the first 13 to get to those teats are the ones who survive, and anything beyond that end up dying. And by the time the babies in the pouch get big enough that they can't fit in the pouch anymore, they crawl onto the mother's back, where they then hitch a ride. So they ride around on her back until they're old enough to follow her. Now, I think part of the reason they're so good at reproduction is because they suck at survival when it comes to being attacked by a predator. So when they get attacked by a predator, they're pretty sucky at defending themselves. Now, if you look, they actually have really good sharp teeth. Let's get a good look at that. Their teeth are very sharp, and their jaws are strong enough that it hurts quite a bit when they bite you. However, they're very bad at actually biting you. They just sit there with their mouth open and pretend that they're going to attack you, but they don't really attack you, like a raccoon or something. And so they're mostly a bluff, is their only defense is bluff. Well, nature has a second defense for them, and that is a very, very small brain that can't handle stress. So when they go to get caught, like this guy, they play possum. As you see, I could put him down. I could put him down and walk away, and he's just gonna lay there and play possum. And because they're stinky and gross, they often poop all over themselves. We're actually lucky this one didn't, and it just stinks. It's a nasty, rotten, putrid smell. And so animals are like, oh, this thing stinks, he's gross, he's not moving, he's not exciting anymore. I'm just gonna leave him here and not eat him. Now that doesn't work all the time. Of course, if a hawk or an owl catches him, they're just gonna start eating him. They can't smell the nasty smell, and he's not moving, so they just start feeding, right? Some other carnivores, I'm sure, do the same thing. They just start eating them. But like for a dog, for example, a perfect way to escape a dog, because it quits moving, the dog loses interest and walks away, right? So for some species of predators or certain individuals of predators, it works. Others, they just get eaten. And so because they get eaten so often, they need to replace themselves by massed reproduction, which we just described. Other interesting things about possums. So there are some misconceptions about them. Before we get into the misconceptions, let's talk about some of the truths. One interesting thing is possums are essentially rabies free. That's almost guaranteed. Reason being is their blood temperature is too low for the virus to survive. And so a lot of viruses, rabies included, cannot live in a possum because of their lower body temperature. So another thing that's interesting about them is they have a prehensile tail. So their tail, as you can see here, it wraps. Now, people believe that they can sit and hang like this, upside down. That's not true. A baby possum might be able to, a real young one, but an adult possum, their tail is not strong enough to maintain their body weight, not for very long anyway. So if they did, it would be very short before they fall. It is helpful, however, when they're climbing. It's just not as helpful as they make it appear in cartoons where they just hang upside down. Now, another interesting thing about possums is they have a thumb. That thumb doesn't have any claw on it. As you see, it's this weird little naked thumb. And they can hold onto branches really good. Their 4 other toes are together like a normal animal paw. And then they have this opposable thumb that's almost like double jointed looking. It flops backwards. And when they make tracks in the snow, that little double jointed thumb makes a very distinct track in the snow. So it's very easy to tell that you have a possum. You don't have to know very much about tracking to know, hey, look at this goofy track with this funny little naked toe off to the side. It's a possum. And if you look at their front paws, they do not have the same thing. Their front paws, it's got saliva all over that paw. Let me switch over here. Their front paws are just a normal little foot. He doesn't want to open it for us. He's clenching it pretty tight. But it's just a normal little 5-toed claw with fingers, but no opposable thumb. And they have claws on all fingers. It's just the back paw that doesn't. They are made for warm weather. Why and how they move so far north is unknown. Maybe in part due to humans making it more hospitable for them with all of our garbage and places to live. But they definitely are moving farther north with humans. But their disadvantage is when they move north, they have these thin little naked ears. You see these little thin naked ears? They do not do well in the cold. And so if you find an older possum, you'll often find that the tips of their ears are frozen off. Well, not frozen off, but they've been frozen off. And so the frostbite will make it so their ears, instead of being this cute little round ear, it's like half an ear. And this is a young possum, as you can tell. And just the lack of frostbite isn't a for sure thing that it's a young possum. That's not how we know. It's just smaller, so we know it's a young possum. But if it was an older possum, there'd be a good chance that even as much as half of its ear would be missing. Another part of their body that often gets frozen off is the end of their tail. So older, bigger possums, you'll find that the tip of their tail is missing because it was frozen off at some real hard cold winter. Other interesting facts about possums, they're very, very, very low intelligence. Their brains are so small that they do this possum thing. So playing possum is not a chosen response. It's an automatic response because their brain is too small to handle the stimuli, and so they just shut down and kind of go into this weird little coma. And it ends up being helpful for their survival in some ways, and in other ways it's just a death sentence, and whatever catches them eats them, because they don't even try to run away, they don't even try and fight back, and they're really not very fast anyway, so running away is not the best escapes tactic anyway. So a lot of these guys get eaten, and they're made to be eaten in very large numbers. That's why they reproduce so fast. The problem is we humans come in and we take over a big plot of land, and we have all of these houses and stuff, and the possums are reproducing like crazy, popping out 13 babies at a time over and over and over again, and nothing's eating them. And so you get a huge overpopulation of possums, and that's why you see them hit on the road all the time. They're really, really dumb, so getting hit is easy when you're dumb and slow. And there's so many of them running around to get hit. And so they do get a little bit overpopulated. Now, fortunately, they aren't as destructive as raccoons. They do have some destructive things about them, but it's a lot less than a raccoon or even a squirrel. So that's a nice thing, is they're not as destructive as some animals when they get overpopulated, but they do eat the eggs of birds and things like that. So in a way, they can harm the environment when they're overpopulated, just not as strongly as some other animals could. One of the downsides to them is they do have a horrible, horrible parasite that can pass on a horrible neurological disease to horses. So horse people do not like possums. I mean, literally can kill their horse. Not the possum itself, but the parasite that they pass to the horse. Another interesting misconception about possums is that weird lure that's been flying around the internet about them destroying ticks. Possums do not do anything significant to reduce tick populations at all. They eat just as many ticks as any other random animal that you happen to pull out of the forest. For some reason, someone got it in their head that possums needed protection, which is weird because they're mostly overpopulated over the country. Generally speaking, they're way overpopulated. So there's no need to protect possums. They're super abundant. But someone got it in their head, oh, we need to protect these poor possums. People don't like them because they're ugly or whatever. So we need to protect them. So they made up this lie that ticks are wiped out by possums, that they eat this an inordinate amount of ticks. It's just not true. Possums don't do anything significant compared to any other species when it comes to reducing ticks. If you want to talk about species who do reduce ticks, you want to look at the wild turkey. They actually do actively consume ticks, among other bugs, and they actually would, and so would a common barnyard chicken, and so would a bunch of other insectivorous birds who are living down in the brush. But a possum does not do anything to the tick population. So don't believe that silly nonsense. It's just common misconceptions spread by the internet through popular culture. It's not true at all. But these are very interesting animals. Not very smart, but kind of interesting. When I was a little boy, I used to love catching these. I used to catch them when they were young, and when they get older, they get kind of stinky and kind of gross, and they're not very smart. So the appeal, for me as a kid anyway, wore out pretty quick. So I'd catch them when they're young, play with them when they're cute and little and not stinky, and then when they got stinky, I just let them go again. And I did that for a little while when I was a kid. Eventually I lost interest doing it at all, but I'd have them on a leash and I'd put them under my coat, and they were cute, and yeah, it was fun. But this little guy, he's a little older for that. He'd probably bite you. If he could come out of his goofy coma, he'd bite you. So that is the American possum, North American possum. Very interesting creature, extremely unique. I would love it if we caught a female. I could show you the pouch, but so far we've only caught males. This is the second one we've caught, and it was a male, the first one too. So, but at least we got to show you their very interesting appendage. Their double penis is very interesting. But yeah, and we're gonna put this little guy down. Last time we did this, I had Chuck sit and film it till it got up. And Chuck got quite cold and bored, and it still didn't get up. So I do apologize. I'm not gonna ask poor Chuck to sit and stare at this lifeless possum for an hour until it gets up. Bye, possum. Have fun pretending you're dead. Hopefully someone doesn't eat you before you wake up.